Yeah, baby. Yeah. The Mac is back. Back with another video. Hello, the initiated. My name is Marcus Jonikala, and today we're having a look at Magma by K-Devices. Another K-Devices demo. Last time, or a few videos ago, I don't know when this comes out in relation to that, but previously we checked out Secta, which is, I don't know how to describe it, which is actually, now that I think about it, a very cool thing that you can't actually, precisely say what it is. Basically an audio splitting, mangling, tearing up, gritty thing that makes your sounds like makes your sounds sound like they are being torn apart by like a very broken tape machine or something like that. That's not a completely fair or accurate description. Very cool, unique audio processing device. They checked it out, seemed to like it enough that we got Magma in front of us here. So they did send me this copy. Might as well touch on transparency while we're at it. So yes, K-Devices did send me a copy of Magma. So first of all, thank you for them for doing that. That being said, all opinions are my own, both in good and bad. Haven't been asked to say anything one way or the other, nor would I ever do that. But Magma was one of the other ones that I really, really wanted to check out because it sounds, right down my alley. So let's take ourselves to the website because we need to understand what it is and also learn a bit about what it is. So this is subtitled Sound as Matter, which is actually really cool. I like that description. Even though it's more abstract, it's super, super cool. They say Magma is an audio processor that grabs incoming audio and twists its presence throughout time. Oh, very mysterious. Blends it with its past self, just like me. Unravels its most. Here's a new word. Recondite. Let's look at what that is. That's a cool looking word, man. Adjective. So, okay. Recondite, I think, is the pronunciation. Can't really read these phonetic alphabets, but adjective. Of a subject or knowledge. Little known. Abstruse. That one I do know. Cool. Very nice. I'm learning new stuff already. We haven't even listened to the plugin. Recondite shades and controls its weight in space, creating everything in between dark drones, shimmery textures, and weird percussive timbres. So primarily I'm interested in this because of the droney aspect, because of the ambient potential. I'm not a huge fan of shimmery textures. I think they sort of sound a bit harsh to the ear, but I know many genres use them, and I do love many artists who have shimmery stuff as well, but not just like a sound of mine. Weird percussive timbres is an interesting one because I don't know how this is going to percussively lend itself well to percussive stuff. But basically they say crossroad between micro looper, granular engine, and a sustainer, and a sound warmer. Can squash your sounds with reverb-like big shaking auras, sprinkle air, and make your lines ethereal. Nice. Then they have a bit of a breakdown of the controls here. Basically they have a section of how it works. So they go even deeper here. I actually like how this is layered. It's just from a selling standpoint and also educational standpoint. They sort of go, layer by layer, deeper and deeper for those who are interested. But continuously records the incoming signal in a short buffer. then plays back the content by blending different moments in time, creating a texture. So yeah, sounds like a granular concept there. Although from what I've gathered, this sounds a bit different, well, we'll see. We'll put it to the test. Users can set the density and persistence of the texture. Can sound as a reverb. Yep. An infinite sustain or a sort of spectral shadow. Ooh. Be scared. Several parameters let the user. Why am I reading this poorly? This is actually this is not a properly written sentence. Several parameters let user sculpt the texture. So maybe fix that, unless I'm a really dull person. Let the user sculpt, or let users sculpt should be. EQ section, temperature knob. I have one of those. So there's a specifically designed distortion for that, and a mid-side knob. I also have one of those. Cool. Then they have a good box here, which we're going to keep open, which is the parameter description. So raw, disable input envelope. But in practice, and I like this also, there's a technical explanation and a, sonic one. Sharpen incoming signal. Cool. Memory, remember audio from the past. Blend it with the present. Oh, nice. Freeze input equal to memory at 100%. Okay, that's good to know. Probably won't use it much as a freezer, but that's a really good function to have there, because you can obviously then automate that and use it like a freeze pedal, which I really do like. Size, set buffer length, smaller values are dense. Just like me. Low, okay, that's cut boost. High, same thing. Rate, set playhead's speed, alter pitch. Makes sense? Mid-side, balance mid-side, alter stereo image to give weight or air. Okay, cool. Temperature, apply distortion, higher values add amp modulation. Wet, knob. Okay, so this one does have that, which is great. Again, interestingly enough, this will probably something that I would probably use more in a wet configuration compared to Secta, which to my knowledge and understanding does not have a wet mix control, which I suggested that they would add. Again, I love the artistic mentality of like commit to the sound, etc., but it's just more usability is better, and I think it would sell better as a result of that, which I do want to see. Cool. And a dry control. Nice. And this is part of the Totem series, apparently the first one. Unconventional audio effects coming in a compact format, easy to use at a lower convenient price. Yeah, so I do want to touch on the pricing again, because I think this is really well priced, very appealing. So for me in euros, this is 39 euros, which is a really good and interesting price point. It's not, looking at this doesn't break the bank. You don't need to ponder too much. Obviously we're all in different financial situations, but this is not like, okay, what am I going to have to drop this month to be able to implement this in my workflow. So yeah, good pricing point, that it's not like 50 something, 70 something. I think that would, let's put it this way, this feels really, really nice. And then you can get the Totem bundle, and that's Magma plus Secta, which is 69 euros. Nice. And again, that seems super appealing. Obviously, if you want to buy more stuff, it accrues and accumulates pretty fast. But yeah, I do like the pricing model here. It seems to be well balanced to what these do and the quality of it. All right, not much more to touch on there, I don't think. First of all, just looking at the interface here. So last time, being as thick as I am, and unfortunately not in the physical department, but mentally, you have a help button here down. which I didn't press last time. So this opens up by with the help turned off. I would suggest changing this. I'd say most customers would love to have it on by default, especially when the interfaces are, you know, a bit artsy, a bit sort of very stylized. So I would think it would be better to have it on once you get in here. If it annoys you, easy enough to turn off, as long as you know it's there, which is not hard to find. I'm just sometimes completely blind to obvious things, but it is there, the question mark here. I would have that on by default, and then you have this other button which changes the look. So this is the dark and this is the light, or whatever. I like this, looks super sexy. Again, when you look at this interface here, the darker zones sort of indicate systems, blocks of this thing. I dig it. Simple and clear enough. This does seem a lot more, I don't know, easy to follow than Secta, because Secta does have the upper lower zones, and then you have the zone to the left. I think some could use some sort of interface clarification. It's working fine, but just like a personal preference. But yeah, I mean, this seems a bit more sort of easier to follow here. What was I going to touch on? Probably not much more than that. Going into the track that we're going to use. So this is again from the soundtrack for the video game Breachway. This is for, so basically in the game you fly through different star systems, and in those you have combat and events. And this is going to be one of the star system tracks. We're going to have several, because every star system is going to have its own track. So what I've done here is I've basically undressed this track. So I have a contact instrument playing, which is Heaviosity's Mosaic leads, and one of these sounds I'm using as a kind of a basis for a pad. It's not, well, there is a pad quality to it, but I heard that, you know, if I run this through some droney ambience creating processing, it will turn out very interesting. So far I've been using Portal for that, which I absolutely love, but I'm really interested in seeing what this sounds like, you know, how it compares to that, and we'll see how, you know, maybe this will replace some of the Portal stuff that I've been using, who knows. But this one basically has, it does have effects, but this is everything that comes out of the box, so to speak, from the contact instrument. So I've basically undressed the whole effects chain that I've applied on top of it, and we only have Magma on top of it. So I'm going to turn off Magma there. Well, let's listen to a bit of this track. I'm going to go to a slightly later point in the track. So that's the basic material that we're dealing with, kind of like a bellish sound, a lot of bandwidth. We got very full spectrum, and having this airy top that I thought will sort of wash itself out into a processor like this, and then into a reverb, and that creates a very big spacey sound. Also very solid low end, and as you can hear, we have that gate pattern going, which really interestingly, so far at least, creates interesting push and pull with the effects processor. So that's what we're dealing with. Let's turn on Magma. Interestingly enough, okay, so raw is just a button. I thought that would be a dial, but interesting. I definitely see, like with Secta, I don't know how the gain staging is gonna go here, because Secta has more of those level controls that affect level to some degree. So interested in seeing how much that is the case here. I presume less based on looking at the architecture here, but that might be something we figure out. But with these kind of effects, the parameters really play with one another. So you really have to sort of go all, all over the place to find the sound that you want. So it might be a bit difficult to, display, or what's the word? Present or explore a single control at a time. So bear with me here. Same thing with the Secta demo. It's, I love the sound of it. I don't know if I did a terrible or brilliant, good, terrible job, one of those, demonstrating it, but it sounds fantastic. Probably a bit difficult to follow, but yeah. Okay, let's jump in here, just start playing with stuff and see where we land. That is the limiter. We do have a bit of a level increase there. Okay, right off the bat, very impressed by the size and the heftiness that it creates for that. Obviously, that's dependent on the sound. We have a good source sound for that, but still makes it pretty immense sounding already, even though we don't have like a massive reverb there. Let me play with the raw control again. Yeah, I love how it kind of booms some of the low end, but in a very, very tasteful way there. So not making it raw, considerably more smooth. And also with raw, there's quite a big level increase, at least for me here. So something to keep in mind. Yeah, I love how it creates a lot of power and energy there in the low end. I think I'm going to keep the raw on here. Let's move into memory. Yeah, so basically at maximum it freezes the sound. I do love myself some rate control. Okay, so this sounds remarkably smooth and pleasant in a very unique way. Sounds like a very fine grain, I don't know, substance. So I'm really digging this sound so far, and it genuinely feels unique. It doesn't, because so many granular effects, you can very quickly hear, okay, yeah, that's a granular effect. They have the same kind of tone. You have this, or that shimmery, bright, maybe sometimes even harsh quality. Obviously, it depends on what you do with it, but this doesn't come across as that at all. So very, very smooth and kind of washy, pleasant sound. Clipping. That's the limiter. I'm going to pull back on the temperature. Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm doing the walk away. I'm doing the walk away. That is super, super cool. Yeah, so we took the dry signal out completely, went all the way wet, which you always want to do. Pro tip. But yeah, for these kind of like droney, spacey things. Yeah, it's so immense and thick sounding and smooth, and it doesn't get any level of that harshness there. We hear some artifacts there, some of those kind of like sound almost like plucky sounds, or it's like someone's rummaging through a box of stuff. But I don't know how much of that is obviously we're in full wet mode, so it shouldn't be giving any of that dry sound. I wonder whether those are kind of remnants or particles that are coming as a result of this pitch alteration. So it's taking some of the transient information, and then that pitch sounds like sort of a bit plucky there. So just as a reference, let's turn Magma off. Listen to this again, the raw signal. So going from that to this. Yeah, there's like a bit of a, that's not the limiter clipping. You can hear those, they sound sort of like slight distortion. It's like something could be clipping internally, but it sometimes it's on the border of being intrusive and harsh, but sometimes it's actually quite pleasant. Definitely has something to do with the transients there, because it always comes after the change in the chord. I wonder whether that's something I could improve upon with better gain staging here. So let me I'm gonna pull up a VU meter control thing here on the side to monitor the levels too. In case it's my fault, I want to give this like a fair you know, observation. Okay, so the input level should be fine. Yeah, it definitely shouldn't be overblowing it. I wonder whether it's this raw control, because it did mention that it makes it sharper. Let's turn that off. I will experience a drop in level. And let's play without this input. No, sorry, now the input envelope is on. So let's see how this works. Now we still get the same sound, so it's something else. So that's the rate control. Obviously, anytime you start pitching stuff up, you get that shimmery quality, which is obviously what they said it would do, and that tends to be the sound that I'm not super hot on personally. Let's I can try and if I can empty the buffer here, but I'm guessing it would. Yeah, it just keeps going. So let's try stuff pitched up. I feel like without the raw, this sounds a bit even smoother than before. Yeah, so that's such a cool sound. Yeah, I'm not usually a fan of those shimmery things, but it's there. You can use it for your own sound, your own music, obviously. Sounds good. Obviously, it will introduce a bit of those kind of belly resonant qualities. But yeah, I mean, if you use them, it's there. Very cool. Let's put the rate in the middle, so we basically in the original pitch here, and listen to that. Has a very pleasant boost on the rumble there. Again, we have a good source sound for that, but still worth considering. I want to compare that to, let's pitch all the way down as we did before. Yeah, it seems like the pitch or the transient distortion thing happens with the pitch all the way down. But again, it could be just the way it deals or pitches the transient information of the sound. Yeah, I mean, I think this, first of all, I think overall ambient music, drone stuff really benefits from low-end focused stuff, so this is coming from that perspective. Well, I think this sounds just the best because it kind of smoothens out and in a good way kind of dulls out a lot of the edges of the sound. So huge fan of this rate control all the way down here. The memory, basically, you're gonna control. It kind of pairs with the size. Let's actually play with that a bit more. That is the limiter. That was also the limiter. Very cool from a sound design point of view. So the size really makes a massive difference there. Let's increase that. So yeah, I mean, this is like a sound designer's wet dream. It basically goes from making it very noise-like to sort of a very ghostly tone, and you begin to get more and more tonality back into your sound as you begin to push this further, and then it kind of gets into a maybe pseudo reverb zone, but basically you get your pitch back and a bit of a washy quality there. And again, the memory is kind of like more like obviously if it ends up being a freeze control, that gives you a good idea of what it is doing, but it kind of like extends the washiness of it. So what I actually like about this is that it doesn't get, obviously many of these sounds, like they say, are reverb like, but this is not a reverb, and it's not exactly trying to be a reverb, nor will it be a reverb. But I actually really like this because it changes the quality of the sound without going too much into the realm of the reverb. So I can take this, get a really good ambient droney element going, and then on top, like a reverb on top of this will be fantastic. So I actually like that it doesn't push too much into sounding like one. It just kind of takes the sound and stretches it, forms it into the blob thingy-majingy that you want it to be, and then you can take that and put it into a reverb, which is really, really nice. So I like that it stays on its lane and it doesn't get too reverby, as sometimes some of these processors do, and then it can be very difficult to undo the reverbiness, if at all. So it's a huge plus in my book. I wouldn't want this to also push into that reverb tone too much. But if there was a reverb-ish control, that's what the memory is doing, essentially. It extends the washiness of the sound. But again, it's more like a control of the mass of the sound of it. This mid-side inclusion is pretty cool actually, and it sounds actually good as well. Like in this case, for example, I could take this and automate, you know, let's say from 25% to about 75 without getting, you know, the mind-bending phase stuff happening. Would be a really nice way to go from, like, as these waves sort of wash over you, you could go from mono to, well, mono-ish, more mid, and then kind of wash it to the side and go back and forth, make it like a wave thing. I might actually do that. But this is a really nice inclusion, and it's not like, this feels more like an artistic inclusion rather than like a creative inclusion rather than like a mix one. Obviously it can be a mix one as well, but that's cool. Really, really good to play with that, to work with the spread of the sound. I really want to get into this temperature control here, although it will be probably pretty tricky to gain stage because it seems super loud. But let's give that a crack. I might have to adjust. I do want to hear what this sounds like on the fully wet, but let's see. First of all, I would probably be more subtle with the mid-side than I said. That distortion sounds absolutely fantastic. Again, this gives me very like Secta vibes. I wonder, because they said this was the first one, maybe they made Magma first and then learned a bunch of interesting stuff and took that and made Secta, because this sounds very similar. And that's a compliment. Let's say that's a complimentary thing. It doesn't sound like a like they're both the same or rip-offs or whatever. It's just that is so finely tuned, excellent sounding. I love that it sounds like it's chewing on it and tearing on it, but it doesn't bring any harshness to it. It's like it's tearing and chewing, but it sounds still very pleasant and smooth in its in a certain way. That's fantastic. I love that it's very Secta-like, you know, just ripping the thing apart, but still very, very nice to listen to. Super impressive. I'm definitely going to use that. Definitely interested in seeing how Secta would sort of stack with this, and also how the distortion compares here, because this just sounds really, really nice. It's like sort of buttery pleasant but gritty. And I love that when it kind of oversaturates, when it sounds like it's blowing up, it's still a very pleasant, dare I say, analogish sound. At least, like in the concept of it saturates, like sounds like a transistor or something. The input, it kind of blows up, but it's like a very pleasant choking. It's like, okay, I've met the limit. Okay, that's interesting, very dense, and then it pulls back. I love that it has this sort of back and forth tearing up type of sound. Wow, that, yeah, very, very cool stuff. I like that this opens up a bit faster than Secta. It's just a matter of Secta is more complex and sort of, what's the word? Interactive with its controls. Harder to find the exact balance point that you want. As I said, and in Secta, I would love to see visually the, up and above, so I can find the perfect balance. Also, or visually assisted, find the perfect balance of when I'm feeding which part. I think that would make that plugin absolutely stellar, super inspiring to work with, and just faster. I think as a test, I'm going to put back on the reverb that I had here. So this is Super Plate by Sound Toys. I have a gold foil set up here with an 8-second slightly modulated reverb, and let's see how this goes. So this is, I'm just feeding the sound we just listened to into that. So I wouldn't actually go for that. That's obviously changing the sound very differently. Just wanted to test that. But yeah, again, like when you are, what's so good about having the distortion here, and oftentimes what's so good about having a distortion after a reverb, is that it's going to chew on that, and then it's going to make exactly these kind of like blocky, tearing, pumping, overblowing type of sounds that Magma is doing. That was the limiter clipping. So yeah, there might be many cases in which I wouldn't put a reverb after this, because I wanted that distortion to chew on it. I might even put a reverb before it. I might even use the temperature, the distortion on its own after a reverb. I'll have to test and see, but this yeah, might actually make the reverb redundant in those situations where you want it to chew on that, because that makes it sound like it's already chewing on a very spacious sound. Cool. I think that's it for this demo. Yeah, I mean, as you could hopefully tell, really digging this, and I like that it does clearly its own thing, and it clearly has its own sound. It's much smoother, much more pleasant, kind of small, grainier than many of the granular effects and devices out there. So definitely does its own thing, has its own sound. Super pleasant, very easy to use. Initially, you know, I thought the controls would be sort of, you tweak one thing and then you have to tweak another, but here it stays very clearly in line because, you know, we have less optionality than in Secta, and that's not like a negative thing. Super cool. I actually think I will be using this for the soundtrack. We'll have to go case by case, obviously. Yeah. Okay, so it looks like my DAW crashed. So we'll see what that's about. Hopefully the video capture is still working properly, but we'll call it here. Yeah, excellent stuff. Go give them a look. Again, as far as I can tell, there is no demo available, so that sucks. I wish they've found a way of doing that, but I don't know what the, you know, sales or distribution infrastructure is like for them. But would be cool to demo before purchase, although like I said, they're very reasonably priced. So, but again, hopefully this demo helps you make that decision for yourself. Let me know what you think about this, if you have this on your own, and any of the things that I obviously didn't touch on here. Let me know about those in the comments, and also let me know what you think about this video. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Finished.